Hello everyone. How are you all guys? Hope you are well and doing good. And welcome to the Celebrity Auto. In this video we are going to talk about the Mr. Bean's airport disaster. Airports are always hectic, but when Mr. Bean steps inside, chow seems guaranteed. What was meant to be a simple trip turned into one of the most memorable and disastrous days in the airport history. Mr. Beans arrived at the airport with the teddy snugly tucked under his arms and his mismatched suitcase rolling behind him. His journey was supposed to be ordinary check in, find a snack, and wait for his flight. But Bean's imaginations had other plans. While waiting in the queue, Bean noticed a large security poster showing a bold picture of a gun with a big red "No weapons allowed" sign. His eyes lit up with mischief. For him, this was not warming, it was invitation to play. He reached into his pocket jacket, shaped his fingers like a gun, and dramatically pointed them at the poster. Then he whispered, "Bang!" under his breath. Unfortunately, a nervous passenger nearby saw this and gasped, assuming Bean was pulling a real weapon. Within a second, panic spread through the terminal. The airport crowd erupted, people screamed, luggage tumbled, and travelers ducked under the chairs. Being confused by the sudden uproar, through the people were simply overacting to his little joke. To reassure them, he exaggerated the fake gun, waving his finger about, which only made things worse. Security alarms blared, guards rushed forward. Bean's innocent prank had turned into a full blown security crisis. But the disaster did not stop here. As the security guards charged, Beans tumbled backward into a family of tourists. They were carrying delicate possessions from their trip abroad, a handcraft vase, antique figures, and our musical instrument wrapped in the cloth. Bean, in his frantic clumsiness, tripped over their suitcase. While his arms flailing, the grabbed the vase for balance, but slipped again. The vase flew into the air, bounced off a luggage cart, and shattered on the polished floor. In his attempt to catch the pieces, Bean accidentally sat on the cloth wrapped instrument, snapping it in half. The family gasped in horror. The priceless sovereigns were destroyed in seconds, and all thanks to Mr. Bean. At that very moment, airport police surrounded Bean. He tried to explain with the wild hand gestures that it was just a finger, not a gun. He even wiggled his fingers to show there was no trigger, but the police it looked like suspicious movement. "Hands where we can see them," shouted one officer. Bean raised his hand slowly, teddy dangling from one arm. Security wrestled him to the ground, slapped on handcuffs, and marched him away. The crowd cheered, relieved the dangerous man had been caught. Bean, however, looked puzzled in his muffled way. He tried to protest, pointing repeatedly at his finger gun and then miming vase breaking. Of course, nobody understood. At the police station, hours later, Bean sat in a tiny holding cell, his tie crooked and his expression sulky. Across the table, stern airport police chief interrogated him. "So, Mr. Bean, you claim you were only using your finger as a gun?" Bean nodded furiously, raising his fingers and saying a quiet pew pew. The officers exchanged bluffed looks. They were sure whether was a genius prankster, a complete fool, or a mix of the both. Meanwhile, the tourist family arrived to the lodge. Their complaint about the destroyed possessions. The father dramatically held up the broken instrument. The mother clutched fragments of the vase, and the children glared at Bean with fury. Bean gulped, then gave him his most sheep's smile. Just things look bleak. Bean spotted an opportunity on the police chief's desk at the box of the biscuits. With the typical childlike curiosity, Bean reached for one. The chief, distracted by the paperwork, did not notice. Bean slipped a biscuit into his mouth and began dramatically choking. Not actually choking, but staggering out one of his class over the top performance. He flailed his arms, rolled his eyes, and fell to the floor. Quick, he's collapsing, shouted an officer. As they rushed to help, Bean crawled under the table, slipped through the open door, and tiptoed down to the hallway. He darted past a junior cart, grabbed a mop bucket, and disguised himself by putting the bucket over his head. With only his legs showing to anyone watching, he looked like a clumsy cleaning machine rolling along. By the time the police realized, Bean had already slipped out the back door of the station. Back at the airport, Bean quietly retrieved Teddy and his battered suitcase from lost and found. The family of the tourist, still upset about their broken treasures, spotted him. Bean froze like deer in headlights, then quickly pulled out his wallet and offered a few coins as compensation. The family shook their heads in disbelief, but Bean beamed, convinced he had solved the problem. Finally, as he boarded his flight, Bean slumped into his seat, exhausted but oddly proud. He patted Teddy and whispered, "Adventure over." Of course, the entire cabin gasped when the Bean pulled out his finger again and went bang at the seatbelt sign. The chaos was about to begin all over again. The airport fiasco captured everything that makes Mr. Bean beloved: his innocent mischief, physically comedy, and uncanny ability to turn the simplest moment into the epic disasters. What started as a playful joke ended in the panic, shattered possessions, and an unforgettable airport arrest. Yet, true to form, Mr. Bean walked away, smiling, oblivious to the trails of the choice he left behind. If you find this video interesting and entertaining, then like the video and also subscribe the channel. And I wishing you a very good luck and a nice day. Signing off.